Hello and welcome to another pizza game here, round 1 of the IMBA Cup 2. This one's between FunkOff and SmuggledBrain, and FunkOff actually going with aeon, breaking away from the pattern. Of course, Duris also played with aeon on this one, played extremely well. But here he is taking on Sera, which seems to be the best faction for this map. Now SmuggledBrain here going second air. See what happens. This is actually Curry. He played extremely well. I believe he was in the top 4 in the last IMBA Cup. Had a very nice run, knocked out people like Tag Rock. We'll see how well he does in this one. Of course, Funk didn't have too much luck in the last IMBA, but definitely a player capable of beating anybody. And he is one of the contributors to Forged Alliance Forever in terms of how that whole thing functions. So big thanks for him for that. Let's see, speed this up a little bit. I'm a bit tired of pizza, but not much left. Gotta see who goes on to the next round. Of course, this is a double elimination tourney. Yeah, both of these players will still continue to play, but if you want to stick in the winner's bracket, you get less games, less chance to lose. You always have that extra game in the pocket. Haven't seen too many bombers, so no first bomber in this one, which makes it a little less exciting. I'll actually speed this up even better. Well, second air here, you see second air 220 from Funk, very similar for Brain. And this is the power of Aeon. They can put their scouts on water. You can see this is exactly what Duris did against Rock, put scouts all over this original slice. But you see Brain here very aggressive with his expanding engineers. This is something you can do when you don't get hit by that first bomber. This is very dangerous to do against first bomber. Here comes the bomber for Brain now from a second air factory, and the interceptor versus bomber, and of course the interceptor will win. Not clear what was the order given to that interceptor. Of course, with these scouts are so powerful from Funk. He knew exactly where that bomber was, and that's the makes the interceptor so much more powerful. And it looks like early on Funk is going to have air control. He's got a second interceptor coming in, and this is nearly perfect airplay there from Funk, perfect timings and everything. He is going to take out that bomber. Successful drop now for Funk. He is going to start taking the islands, and look at these scouts here from Funk. Excellent. That's exactly when anything happens. Successful expansion now to the right slice for Funk. Successful drops. So Funk should have no problems holding on to these. Doesn't look like Brain is sending in any units in that direction. Of course, Brain has established some factories on his right slice. An engineer moving in here. This could be dangerous for Brain if Funk decides to put some transports, but no, he's going to play it safe. He's just going to take this right slice. And a drop now coming in from SmuggledBrain with some engineers. It looks like he just changed his mind. He's going to drop back, but this is going to be dangerous for these interceptors from Funk. Of course, with the scout, Funk is definitely going to know exactly what's happening. Yeah, map control. This is a successful drop, though. Now this transport is going to be killed. Not clear why Brain is. Well, Brain is just going home, but looks like those interceptors, after doing their job, are going to be taken out. So as we've seen in previous, like here comes a drop. So this could be a game turner here in terms of map control. Of course, now the Auroras are going to cause trouble again. Shouldn't be too much trouble, however. But this is going to be a drop. We do see some factories already established here for Brain. This looks like it's a bunch of Auroras together with an engineer. This engineer needs to start doing things. It's a little bit of trouble there for Brain, but he should be able to hold on. He's got multiple factories who will kill off these Auroras. A Tech 1 bomber now coming in from Funk. And floating arty here. This is expected. Brain taking a page out of Pebble's book here, putting those factories up top. It's going to do a lot of raiding. Of course, Auroras would be a nice counter. And looking at the base now, we can see pretty nice air spam for Brain. Two factories making interceptors, ACU making spam, a single land factory, and not much else. But now here we see the Aurora from Funk getting on land. Here's going to go after that mask extractor, some point defenses. So this is a great counter to the Auroras. Can't to use point defenses against Arty. And you can see Funk having a little bit of trouble with this Arty running through, losing mask extractors. And Navy now for Funk, perhaps frigates. Yeah, he's going to use frigates to counter the Arty spam. And SmuggledBrain doing a good job with his Arty, so a very even match here. Looking at Funk's base, he is going Tech 2 air, pretty nice spam. And one thing about Funk, always splitting up his power generators, except of course these. And the Funk needs to solve this problem as soon as possible. It looks like the frigates are moving in that direction. And you can see these artillery. There's a single one here looking for anything to kill. You expect to see Brain attack on all different fronts at the same time. And now we are going to see the frigates. This should be a one shot, one kill. Yeah, it looks like as long as they keep moving, they won't be getting hit by Arty. Some drops coming in, perhaps an air fight now for Brain. Successful drop. And very even numbers here. Perhaps a little more for FunkOff. Yeah, it looks like FunkOff will take this fight. A drop now for Funk. Both players very active with their drops. I expect these frigates to get a lot of kills. 9 between them so far. And it looks like Auroras are going to attack this Arty. Auroras are nice when they have a couple scouts with them. It's not clear that there are scouts. This is actually tanks. And now gunships for Funk. So Funk first to get the gunships. It looks like he does have pretty good air control, but Tech to air for Brain as well. Very similar gameplay from these two players. One big difference, of course, is this frigates stopping the flow of units, and perhaps a little more air from Funk. Yeah, Funk definitely have an advantage. Also some swift winds, of course, with Aeon. Tech 2 fighters gets a big advantage. So FunkOff turning in this battle into a fight that gives Aeon an advantage. Of course, air fights on this map, not a surprise to anyone. Here we see a raiding gunship, 6 kills already, and should be taken out easily by Brain. Here we see Brain sitting in the water, should be spotted by those frigates. Looks like he's gonna walk out of the water. Funk sending more gunships. He's going to take care of this problem that he's got. And yet another air fight. So still a very even battle. It looks like FunkOff always wins these individual fights, although in this one it's going to be extremely close. More gunships. But he keeps on coming back. We see another group of units coming in from Brain. And these factories here from Brain are completely destroyed. And one thing to note, a bit of a base here in the back for Funk. He's not producing anything, but he can start spamming units, perhaps take over that slice. And Navy now for Brain. Doesn't look like he'll be successful. He's trying to rush Tech 2, but frigates find him. They can pay the price. It's a nice chunk of mass that he's about to lose. See a shield for Brain. Still Tech 2. Some torpedo bombers. So we are seeing that Brain is worried about Navy. He does not want to lose this Tech 2 factory. Of course, Sera from torpedo bomber is not so good. Tech 2 flak versus frigates. This is a destroyer, so it looks like Funk rushed Tech 2 Navy. This will be very interesting. Very nice Tech 2 Navy from Funk. Of course, this Aeon destroyer tends to miss a lot. And yet another air fight. Brain's desperately trying to stay in it. He's basically not been making any T2 units besides interceptors. Made a few torpedo bombers, and that may have just cost him a big numbers advantage now for Brain. See his Tech 2 land factory making flak. And more destroyers, multiple destroyers from Funk. I'm expecting some shields from Funk together with these destroyers and some flak. Perhaps not too much flak. He can take care of everything with his air. Swift winds dominating. And now we are seeing the power of Aeon with the really good T2 fighters. More interceptors for Brain. You can see this is much less than what he usually sends out. Won't have much luck. And this is looking like it's going to be one of the first battles that will be decided by Navy. Don't really see what Brain can do here. He is not Tech 3. He's got Tech 3 engineer. It might go, yeah, Tech 3 power. And now Cruiser, which is probably a bad choice. Cruiser is not going to do much for you. Destroyers are just going to come in and kill things. Brain is in the water, so he is actually in danger of dying to these destroyers. Excellent torpedoes on the Aeon destroyers. Cruiser's trying to get some distance. And of course, torpedo bombers are not that powerful when they get killed by interceptors. Brain just gets out there now. Gunships elsewhere from Funk, so Funk attacking on multiple fronts. A bit of an attack here from Brain. Tech 2 amphibious tanks, but they're not really making it that far. And this is going to be a naval victory for Funk. So perhaps if Brain gets air back, he would have a chance, but that's a very big if. At Tech 3 air, you see both factions there now much more even than at Tech 2 versus Tech 1 and versus Seraphim. Funk being very careful, making quite a few shields. Actually, as a resource allocation, one of them on his ANSUs, he's got massive amounts of power now. That's one surprising thing, is people haven't really been using resource allocation nearly as much as you might expect on this map. Gives you a lot of build capacity to make it. And now some cruisers. It's not as if Funk really has any air problems, but cruisers do provide a lot more security. A very even game early on, but we've seen Funk really get that advantage with air, and then with Tech 2 Navy, huge advantage now for Funk. Brain played at standard, but wasn't able to stay up with Funk. Now gunships. Really nice to see good players play this very well. You see the map control shifting in Funk's favor, basically taking over the slice. We see both Auroras and gunships now moving in directly at Brain's starting position. He's going to start fighting with his ACU. Looks like these were taken out. Navy between the two slices, separating Brain's base in two. And these units look pretty doomed. We see a whole bunch of blazes. FunkOff some blazing. Excellent units from Aeon. Brain working on some flak. And let's see how Funk decides to finish it. He does have Strat Bombers, but Strat Bombers are going to have some trouble breaking through Seraphim's shield. That's one thing that Seraphim does have. So perhaps massive drops. I would love to see a massive drop, maybe a T3 drop from Funk. Funk working on some T3 power. Got some Tech 1 drops. Looks like he's just going to go Strat Bombers. That's a simple thing. Get 10 Strat Bombers and just kill Brain in 1 or 2 passes. Nice pressure from those gunships. Strat Bombers are actually taking out the Tech 2 mass ejectors here. So this is basically the second game in a row. One player much better than the other. See, SmuggledBrain did do some struggling, but you can see the FunkOff much superior player, using aeon very well. And some people call it cheating, but this looked really good. So hopefully people enjoyed it.